Okay, hi everyone. My name is Marie. I'm a UX designer at SAP France. And today I will talk about how I got into UX design, what working in UX design actually means, especially in a big company like SAP, and also what skills are needed for this job. So just to give you a little background of myself, I was born in the north of Germany in Münster. It's the red dot. Then I moved to Karlsruhe to do my studies. That's in the south of Germany. And there are also all the big headquarter companies like Siemens, Daimler, Bosch. So it wasn't really intention free. And yeah, now I live in Paris and I work for SAP France. That's the blue dot that you can see. Okay, yeah, just about who I am as a person. So as a young girl, I was always very creative. I love drawing. So for my family and me, it was clear that I would study something like design or art and do a job where I can be very creative. And so before I could study design, it was actually required that I do an internship in a graphic design company. So I did an internship for 3 months in a company that did graphic design at Bremen, which is close to my hometown. And yeah, this was really a reality check for me because it wasn't at all creative work. We basically worked closely together with banks and they had their corporate design already and we were creating content for them like e-learnings. Yeah, so we were just reusing the designs that they had already and it felt like something a computer could do as well. And yeah, this was really just my experience. There are probably other graphic design companies where you have a much better experience. But based on that experience, I decided that I want to do something or that I want to study something else than just design, but also something that focuses on the communication between the people in the company, the customers, and the end users. So then I moved to Karlsruhe to study communication and media management at a university that is focused on more practical work. So that means you don't go very deeply into the theoretical backgrounds of everything, but more you learn what you can actually apply when you work in a company. And yeah, the beginning was very general. We did also some engineering, some programming. And then later on, we were able to focus more on graphic design, how to do a corporate identity, how to create a content management system, but also on the language aspect. So how do you write professionally? How do you prepare content so it's easy understandable for others? And yeah, I love the variety of my stories and the focus on things that are actually also part in a job of a company. So for my practical semester, I went abroad to Singapore. And besides all the cultural differences I had to adapt to, I organized a lot of events there. And I could also take care of the digital signage. And then closer to the end of my studies, of my internship, I was supposed to help one of the developers in improving the content organization of their intranet. Because people complained that they weren't finding information easily. And that was the first time that I actually did something close to UX design, so the job I'm doing now. And yeah, I really like the end result of improving the colleagues' life by making information more easily accessible to them and organize the whole content in a way that made sense to them. And we also did some user testing in the company by just asking colleagues if the organization of the content made sense to them in that way. And also by working closely with a developer. So I got constant feedback of what's actually possible to change in the intranet and what isn't. And then at the end of my studies, I was able to write my thesis at the SAP headquarters in Walldorf, which is like an hour away from Karlsruhe. And the red dot points at, let me show, yeah. So that's where my office was. So I had a nice view of the forest. And yeah, during my thesis, I evaluated, improved a tool that aimed to support project managers during the whole implementation process of a SAP software for a customer. And that really helped me to understand what SAP is actually doing, how complex it is to design and implement business software, but also what the work that SAP is doing helps companies to work more organized, efficient, and in the end have happier end users. So yeah, I felt very comfortable at SAP from the start because everyone's very helpful there and open-minded. And we also have the rule that you approach everyone in an informal way, regardless of their position. So yeah, it's just to remove the barriers of status and focus more on working collaboratively in the company. And besides that, there are also many other activity offers, like every sport you can imagine, art classes, book clubs, even a hairdresser we have there. And the food in the canteen is free. So yeah, it really feels like you're supported and appreciated in the company. Yes, so this quote I think is a good example of what skills are needed to be a good user experience designer. It is about making information processes as simple and as easy as possible. You need to really understand human behavior and human ways of thinking. For example, when it comes to perceived performance, when you wait for a page to load and you already see a loading buffer, it feels a lot less time that you're waiting for the page to load than when you would just see a blank screen. And you would also think the system just stopped working. You wouldn't think something's happening, but actually you're just showing people this thing that's loading. Yeah, so a good user interface is really not just pretty, it's more simple to the most important core of interactions and information that is needed and reflects the human being, how human beings think, how they're used to things behaving in real life, and therefore the way they think things behave in the digital world. So yeah, when I was starting to write my thesis, I had two very good supervisors in the company, one who invented the tool that I was improving, and the other one was very experienced in writing scientific papers in the field of UX design. And to me, this was very important because it gave me a lot of direction at the beginning, where I didn't really know what working in UX means and what my skills actually are. Sometimes things go wrong, not because you are not good at it, but because you didn't know how to start or whom to ask. So yeah, they both always connected me to people from different areas like development or consulting. And yeah, this really helped me to also see the different needs that were required for the tool. And this is another advantage of SAP, that you can easily get into contact with other lines of businesses and ask them about their job and experiences. And yeah, as you can see on the slide, the main problem that we have at SAP concerning the UX design is that we acquire a lot of companies, and they all come with different interface design. And our job in Central UX is basically to align all these different interface designs that comes with new companies that we buy. So yeah, here you can see all the different shell bars that we have in the systems, and the aim is to basically have one central design, and then you adapt the name and the content to the specific system. So yeah, and this basically works by having a design system. So this consists of basic floor plan layout, different page types for list on object page, the different controls like tables or buttons, then as well rules for the colors and fonts. At SAP, we have the font 72, which is the year SAP was founded. And then also the interactions, like how to drag and drop something, how to open a popover, and so on. Yeah, so after I finished my studies, I applied for an internship at SAP in Paris because, yeah, who doesn't want to live at Paris? So yeah, but I also really liked the team that was working there, and luckily, right after Corona hit, I was hired full-time in Paris. And on this slide, I want to show you one of the projects that we did. So this is a concrete example of how we start. We had a design of the color palette, and many users weren't happy with this because they couldn't save colors in form of palettes, import color palettes from other systems, or create their own. And this is especially necessary when you have a big process map and want to show different states, like in progress, done, warning. It's nice if you have your set color palette and you can reuse the colors quickly instead of always having to create the colors again. Yeah, so we started by looking at existing color palettes design and other tools like Illustrator, Mural, Sketch, or Photoshop to see what was validated by other users in other systems and to see how we could extend the design of our color palette. Then we started to create very basic design ideas that were mainly focused on how users will interact with the palette. So here we were experimenting with how users would get to a dialog to create a color palette from the color overview and the color palette, and where they would manage the different color palettes. So this is really not focused much on the visual design, but more to have the rough idea of where things are positioned and how the whole flow of the experience would look like. And then with each round of design and evaluation, so you create a design, then you go to the users and you test it with them, you get their feedback and you adapt the design, and then you get closer and closer to how specific the design should look like, how the visual design will be. And yeah, then after several rounds, and this can take a lot of time, we arrived at this final design and we could hand it over to development. And this is also something to know about working in a large company like SAP, that things will go a lot slower than in a small company where everyone is basically working together directly. Here it can take months or even years until something will be actually released and available to users. So it's better to lower the expectations there, know that this will help someone not now, but sometime in the future. And yes, I think this is definitely something good to know in advance, because I've seen many designers being very frustrated by not directly seeing the impact of their work. Yeah, so to come to an end, these are the main advantages of good UX design. This is why this job is so important and valuable. It's important to keep in mind that you have the right focus and not fall in love with a pretty design that's not useful to people. So I choose UX design because it allows me to combine communication and design in my daily work. I'm not only creating something delightful, but also something that's easy to use and helps others in doing their daily job. And as an advice to other women who want to work in UX design, I would say that is definitely not something dominated by men at SAP. I think we have 50% of women in high positions as SAP and also in normal positions. So there's no reason to hesitate to start a job. And UX design, in my opinion, is not something that you can learn by studying. So we all come at the same start, because UX design is really individual to each company, to each project. So you always have to look at the needs and the possibilities that you have, and it gets only better with practice. So one advice I would give is that you practice by just giving yourself a task, like how I would design Facebook if I could redo it, or creating something like your portfolio as a website, just to get into the practice. Okay, yeah, I hope this could give you some valuable information, and thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you, Marie. Okay, then it's Krista's turn.
Yes, I'm sharing my screen then.
Yeah. And if someone has some questions, you can write those at chat and we can later take Krista's presentation. Let's start with those.
Can you see my full screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so as Marie, I'm working at SAP France as a software engineer, and I started working, in fact, 5 years ago. I joined firstly as a PhD student in machine learning. More precisely, I was working on recommending systems. And then from 2 years, I'm working as a full programmer, and I'm as a software engineer here. But before going to my career story, hoping to inspire you and to see how we work at SAP and how we can have different profiles, I want to share with you someone that inspired me recently. I don't know if you know this woman of 19s. Any idea who she is? Maybe I can give a hint that it's a programming language that has its name after her, or that Microsoft products authentication holograms has her face. No idea. I had no idea some times ago neither, but I was very glad to discover Ada Lovelace, which in fact is the first individual that really recognized the potential of computers and wrote the first program. I don't know if you know the Ada programming language. It's her, in fact, that presented for the firm, that defined for the first time a programming language, inputs, outputs, integrated memory, all the control branching and loops that we use every day in programming. And I was very surprised to see that, in fact, the first person that wrote a program, it's a woman, and apparently most of us do not know that. And that's why I chose this example to show you. It inspired me. I hope it inspires you to see how a woman from the 90s, for your information, it's also the daughter of Lord Byron. So looking the society where she grown up, it's inspiring to see how she followed her passion for numbers and collaborated with mathematicians of the time. For example, it's with Charles Babbage, who invented this analytical engine, and she collaborated at the time to finally define a programming languages to write the first program. So I hope with these examples you'll be inspired to pursue in your career in technology. And for that, I'll show how I started from a little girl just loving exact sciences to a software engineer at SAP today. As I said, I was really interested only by exact sciences, and during all my scholarity, I chose to follow the scientific courses. And at the moment I had to choose my career between doing maybe chemistry, because my parents were both chemists, and it was a moment that I won the National Olympiad of Chemistry, but on the other side I loved maths, and informatics and technology was the main topic, and it still is the main topic, and you can find easily work everywhere and do different things because it's applied in a lot of domains. I chose to do informatics because I was good at math. It was a good career before, so I said, okay, I can do that. But as a girl, in fact, I had several people telling me that it was not a good choice because technology or computers today, maybe from some people, are still seeing like taking PCs out or going under the desk and repairing PCs, and it's not something for girls. Others told me, yeah, you think that you know what programming is because but you see only YouTube and Facebook, and it's not like that. And others told me, you are a good student, so you should do law or medicine or everything that good students do. So maybe we are a little bit judged from this prejudice, but I still thought at the time that I knew what programming is, and chose to start my bachelor at the time in communication information technology. It was a very good choice, I think, for the moment, because it permits you to learn a lot of things about computers, about programming, about databases, about nets, security. It was a very wide choices of subjects, and for everyone, in fact, that decided to study this field today, I highly recommend to choose courses that permits to see a lot of things, because informatics it's really large and larger every day with the new topics and domains that are introduced as it develops more and more. And so I still stayed in this how can you say, in this field of programming, as I loved algorithmic and algorithms, and really working on resolving problems and finding performance solutions. So even after my bachelor, I wanted to pursue to continue, in fact, studying the science of software. Maybe it's the image that we can all have before entering this tech world about developers like staying in the basement and coding. And that's what people told me when I wanted to continue studying that oh no, you work in a basement for all your life and typing and doing what other people that do specs tells you to do. So it was not really motivating to go on that way, but as I said, my passion for doing that made me decided also this time, and I finished my master in science of software finally. And what I maybe would have loved to know from the beginning is to be in contact with the hot topics of the moment, because it was during my master that I started looking a little bit at machine learning, for which we hear all today everywhere. And I decided to do a thesis on that, even though my previous education, my previous studies were nearly not related at all with that, even though everything in informatics, for my opinion, or at least for those that choose to do programming and algorithms, stays on math. If you have math strong basis, you can then learn everything else, because it's applications of that in different fields, and it's up to you to choose what you like to do more at your job. So with that, I proved also to myself that I can choose whatever I want. I was doing programming all the time, and then I'm doing a thesis in machine learning, and still seeing that there are different fields that can be interesting to pursue in your career. And the same happened to me after finishing my thesis. I had to choose, like, continuing in research world, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and everything like that, or staying at the time I had an offer to stay as a programmer, software engineer at SAP. And in fact, I hesitated, like, looking that I was surrounded only, in fact, by men. To be true, most of my colleagues are men. Like speaking about technologies that I didn't know at all, because during my thesis it was mostly research, so I was focused on a specific field of study, and I wasn't up to date with the recent technology. So the jokes or everything that my colleagues were doing around of me seemed strange. So I was hesitating until my manager of the time gave me a message, in fact, that I passed to nearly every woman that I see today, because I find it's true that we as women, maybe we want to be sure 100% to do something, and we want to know everything before saying, yes, I can do that. And my manager told me at the time that I've worked with men this whole time, that if I ask for something, most of the time will say me, yes, I know, yes, I can do that, even though maybe they are not apt to do that. And on the other side, women will say no, or hesitate to do something that they know very well to do. So that there was my point of, yes, I can. It's a great opportunity for me, and I can do it. I will be fast, up to date, and do what I wanted to do for a long time. So that's why that's how after my thesis I stayed as a software engineer at SAP. And not only for that reason, because I loved programming, and it was also about the fact that this possibility was offered to me by SAP. And I think it really made a difference, because I saw immediately that I could join a team that was working on the latest technology. SAP, it's more and more delivering solutions in the cloud, which is the highlight of today. Everyone, it's working and developing on cloud. They also leverage intelligent technologies, and so it was for sure that I will be like kind of forced to be up to date with the latest technology, and this makes a very good point for your personal development and whatever I can choose to do later. The second point that I really appreciated, it's the rich partner and customer ecosystem that is around SAP. In the project where I work today, we deliver each month. At each month, we have feedback from our customer, for our partners, so you can really see immediately how your work impact the life and the work of other colleagues, of other companies that work with SAP, or they are customers of SAP solution. On the other side, and mostly in a personal side, to see how the possibilities that we have at SAP, in fact, to continue learning and to develop, and even to change our career path. They are proposing continuously a lot of fellowships where you can, in fact, join for some months another team and see how they work, and see if you want to change. And I see that I have the possibility, if one day I do not want to be a programmer anymore, I can, thanks to all these learning formations or courses that I've done all this time, I can change and do something else. I have colleagues that work with me that before were doing completely other thing, and now they are doing programming. And finally, referring to women in technology, I can say that SAP is the place to be. There are more and more programs that support and empower women, that propose a specialized learning opportunity for women that offer places to go to conferences or webinars like that, to exchange with other women or other professionals. So you can develop your knowledge, but also see all the opportunities that women have today in technology. At SAP, we are trying to have, it's difficult to have a full equality 50-50, but we're trying to have at least 30% of women that work in technology, and the same percentage of women that are in lead positions. As Marie said earlier, that we have more and more women that are in leading positions at SAP. And finally, to close and to give a more a real view of what my work seem today as at SAP. I'm working as a full programmer, but this doesn't stops me, in fact, having also time to time some small roles as a tester, or as an architect, or as a security guy, because first of all, we are working really closely with different colleagues that are specialized on these subjects, as you can see. And then sometimes we need, in fact, because I don't know, my UX designer, for example, is not available at this time, so I have to take his or her role to do some UX designer for my program or the project that I'm working for, or to test, or take the role of a quality guide that to see the quality of the program I'm developing. And this is very good to see how your colleagues of in different fields and specializations work, but also to discover what maybe you want to do in the future, and maybe in what other domain you can be more how do you say, more better to work on different things than what you are doing today. So with that, I want to close my speech. I hope as Marie, I give another point of view of how the life can be as a programmer, and to see that you can change. Informatics, it's really large, and there are different things that you can apply all this knowledge. So you can choose whatever you want, and also in your career change and do different things. So thank you, and I think we will pass to questions. If you have any question about both of us, you are welcome.
Yes. You can just post them in the chat as well if you don't want to ask.
Questions in the chat already.
Okay, thank you, Marie and Krista. If we don't have any questions, Sini says thanks. Yes, I'm very pleased at this show. Thank you again. We have pretty difficult day, but we do it. And Pia says thank you too. I think same way than Pia.
Oh, I'm looking just now that some of them found the Ada Lovelace. Very proud.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to say something, but like people got it. But you can't see it in the chat while you're sharing.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't see in the chat. Yeah, very good. I'm very proud because I knew her very lately, and I was like a little bit nervous because I thought, okay, if it was like Steve Jobs or Zuckerberg, we'd know him by first look, but the real programmer, the first programmer, and for more it was a woman. Maybe it's not that published.
Yeah, that was very interesting information. I had not heard from her, so that was really a surprise. I need to learn something more about her. Thank you for the presentations. Really nice to hear from your career stories and background and what you are doing. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have any other question. Maybe even out of the presentation, if you want to know something about our everyday job or how we see the evolution of our careers, I don't know, or maybe related with your careers, what you plan to do for your future.
Okay, but do you have Hanna?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I would like to ask. I'm actually not working in this industry directly, but I've been I'm working in the financial accounting and business controlling department of one company, and I've been working with different systems in previous jobs with SAP, and now in my current job, I've been the kind of the main user of our ERP and then some of the financial systems, and that has kind of led me to well, I'm getting more and more interested in this technical side, all the background, and it would be interesting to hear from you how you see, if you think about my background, what kind of possibilities do you see at SAP as kind of my target is not to become like maybe a programmer, but somehow I'm looking for maybe in my future to find some possibilities, maybe to combine my experience in finance and business controlling, to combine that somehow with more the technical side and the systems. So does this what kind of ideas or thoughts would you get from this?
I think it really depends if you, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, but actually I think it's more a question for you, because you asked about the technical side.
Yeah, it was really interesting, in fact, because I'm developing the SAP Intelligent RPI, and you started talking about that, and yeah, you're right that you don't need to be a programmer, for example, to learn how to work with this tool that then you can automate all the processes, the business processes that you or your colleagues do in your everyday job. SAP for the moment, for example, has online there are two courses, like two formations for this tool that I think like you can learn it very easily and very fast, and then start to create scenarios that will automate then what you do in your job. And it's I think it's a very good point that people that work in the field, in the domain, in your case in financial, knows the best the processes and which processes should be automated, which are the processes that take more time, and we need this kind of knowledge to then create this automated processes. So yeah, definitely, if you are interested to that, it's something, as Marie said, that we don't know. In most of cases, the studies that we do, it's like just to open our eyes and see what are the possibilities, and then it's like with these formations and these trainings that you can very fast come apt to different things. So why not? And if you are specifically interested by the RPA, we are talking here about SAP, but it's the hot topic of the moment. So it's for sure something that will be developed more and more, and it's interesting to go in the to enter in the domain and see what the future reserves for us.
Good, thank you very much. I saw there was a question in the chat, I think. Next question.
Yeah, what do you think about learning? How important is this in your work, Marie?
I think that's actually the kind of mindset you should have. So learning is not something that's done with studying, but that's something that continues your whole life, right? Not only at work, but also in your private life. So it's really about having this mindset of learning and getting into new projects, not with this attitude, I know everything, but really like learning from what other people have to say from different perspectives. So really be like open-minded wherever you have a meeting with new people, you start a new project or a new job. Yeah, you should really always be willing to learn and be open for that, and don't come with this full glass. That's what I'm thinking about when I read this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I was just wanted to add something that, especially in technology, information technology, about what we are talking today, things change a lot and very fast. So we can never know everything. And everybody has the right to work everywhere. So as I said, in the case of IRPA, for example, it's a domain that's nobody or very few talked about. There are, I don't know, 15, 20 years. And I haven't studied that at school neither. So I think studying and in general the education, it's important just to learn you how to learn. And then we have to learn the whole life to
Yeah.
be a bit with technology.
But it's so fun.
Yes, Pia want to say something.
Yes, I have a question for Marie. Oh, I don't have my video on, maybe. Hi.
Hi.
I'm actually currently learning UX design and working as a UX design trainee, and I have been thinking, I would be interested in hearing from you. Do you know how to code, or do you think that it's necessary for a UX designer to know how to code?
So it was actually part of my studies. I learned the basics of XML, for example. So I roughly know how programming works as a language. And I think that's important when you start designing something, because otherwise you do something and then you go to development and they say like, well, this is totally not possible. So, but that's also, you learn each project because you are in contact with developers all the time. You get the feedback and then you see what is possible and what is not. So the more you know about it, the better it is. But of course, it's not necessary because you have this other side from the developers. And I think when you have little knowledge there, it's important that you're in the constant communication with them about it to learn about the limitations, because I think it creates a great frustration when you have this design and you think it's perfect, and then you go to the development and they say like, nah, this is expensive, this is complex, we won't do it. So yeah, but that's actually the reality. So I think like maybe 30% of the things we design are actually implemented. So it's also something you have to like adapt to. It's just how it works. But in the end, some of the things you design, they get realized, and that's what you work for.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand, but not necessary to like know how to code.
No, you don't have to do it yourself, but you need to know what limits are there. Yeah. I think that's good.
Then it's something that comes also with the experience, because something that maybe was hard to code yesterday, it's easy to code today because it develops also in the same time. So yeah, it's experience as well. Not necessarily to know how to code a program by yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you. If you have some questions, you can ask them us, and we can send those to Krista and Marie, and then we will. Okay, what's the word again? We will check all the answers and we'll back to you about blog text. Yeah. Oh, now I have to thank you all, and let's have a nice Friday afternoon.
Yes, enjoy the weekend.
Thank you very much.